Let me try that again. You probably didn't hear anything I said, but welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. And nice to see some returning folks coming in and saying hi. And so if you're out there, say hi and tell us you're here. And um, if you're a lurker in the background, if you just want to pop in and say what you're working on while you're lurking, I do that with live streams all the time. When I'm working on stuff, I'll have it going on and may not jump in and join the conversation, but please say hello and let us know what you're working on. So tonight, we've got a few topics to talk about. Talk about progress on the car here, and I wanted to talk about what happens when you're working through some things, but you're kind of stalled for one reason or another. And so we'll talk about that. And then we always have a show and tell, and it's always going to be what's on the thumbnail. And so we'll talk about that build. That's something that I actually have a playlist for, so you can find that out on my channel. There's 6 videos that goes through the whole build, but we're actually going to talk about a refresh, and I think it's the Twin Cities Division Facebook group, maybe a couple others that got a sneak peek at the refresh that I started on it, and that's not something I've done before, so looking forward to that process. Hey, Willow Creek, what kind of scenery are you working on? By your name, is it industrial spur? Are you just working on like urban scenery, or you got some, brush around the industrial area? I have my current practice layout that I have is all industrial, and I haven't really scenic it. But I was thinking about what it would take to scenic an industrial layout as well. All right. So the long and short of it is I probably did like one thing this week with cars. So the build itself, what we're waiting on are the got to get it to the right camera spot here, and of course it's too close. What we're waiting on is a 3D print of a box. So I designed a box to put the ditch lights kind of set in on the car body, and I'll show you a picture of that, of what that sort of looks like here. Let's see if you can see that. There is definitely a better picture, I'm pretty sure. Bear with me for a moment. Yeah, there's not really a better picture than that, I don't think. Okay. So I'll try and get that up to the camera. But these ditch lights are actually set in to a pocket. And so what I did is I designed the pocket with Onshape 3D CAD program, a free program online. And so I have a family member who's printing that out. He had to get new filament, so I went ahead and he got the new filament. But life goes on, and so I have to wait for him to do that, and then it's got to get shipped out to me from New Jersey. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. The only other thing I did was I attempted to do or start these decals. So the microscale decals that I have don't have the exact striping that you see here on the car. You might be able to see it on the real thing too. See if I can get that up there. So their striping looks like this. And They actually have striping in the middle for the middle door, for the version that this is for. That being said, I could still use it, and so we'll have to. So what I did when I cut them out, here you go. I cut them out, so I cut them thin on the black stripe side and kept the full orange stripe, and that should give you what you need here. Now, I didn't want to start down below here because of those. I have to cut out the pocket for the ditch lights. So I started at the top, and I already ruined one of the pieces because I worked with it too much. And when it comes to decaling, my difficulty is the slight tremor that I have. I don't know, you can't really see it on camera, but so when I'm touching something, if it has the ability to move, sometimes it moves. So then I have to get it back in place. And so the decal, so I was doing the decal on, or a decal for Canadian friends, on the corner here. So it was going over top of the window, but what was happening was it was getting too soft. And it got so soft that when I touched it to move it back in place, it got out of place a little bit. It basically crumbled up that piece, and I couldn't save that. So luckily, I think that I can use the middle section for a corner like that. I can cut some of that out and get something out of that for that corner. I have another set of decals though, and I don't plan on doing another cab car, so I can certainly use that set too to dive in on there, and so I have some leeway there. But so that's really what I did for this week when it comes to the car. So brush and weaves, very urban and industrial. So when you're doing the brushing, the weeds in the brush, are you doing any static grass? Are you making tufts? Did you buy anything? Are you making your own? Should be an update on your channel tomorrow. Well, good. It's going to be Saturday here tomorrow, so I will definitely check it out. I'm trying to work with static grass and get better at that. I'm not very good. I did one time make some tufts. They came out okay, but they didn't stand up as much as I was hoping. So I'll be excited to see that. Well, Creek. Hey, Gopher Girl. Everyone say hi to Gopher Girl. She's been having a tough day, so say hi, give her a virtual hug, make her smile, and maybe I'll be let downstairs again. But welcome. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little out of order here, but of what I was planning to do. But so here's my thing. So I get frustrated if I don't have things to work on, and trust me, for what I'm planning to do, I've got lots to work on. So again, the whole idea of starting with this car build is to build a modular layout, somewhat in the Fremo style of the Northeast Corridor, the electrified part of the Northeast Corridor in New Jersey, going into New York and down to Trenton, New Jersey, and to earn my NMRA AP certificates in doing so. Hence why I'm building the car. And so I have lots of projects to do. I have stuff I started. The main station is going to be the station I grew up with, which is New Brunswick Station in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And I started that build. and then I kind of got out of that build because it was a daunting build it was a daunting building to scratch build. It's very, very detailed. And when I'm not, I've done a couple scratch builds now, like two. So I'm not going to be an expert at it. So it's a pretty big task to do that. And it's designed to be the feature station kind of in the middle of the route or middle-ish of the route. I'm looking to have Trenton Station on one end, New York Penn Station on the other, and then New Brunswick kind of in the middle of the layout. So I still have that project to work on. I have the track to work on, or the track structure, because it's actually it's elevated on a stone bridge when it hits that station. So plenty to work on. And so I did one other thing. Now that reminds me, I was frustrated that I wasn't working on it. So I have styrofoam for the outside, like pink insulation styrofoam for the outsides of the bridge area to be the stonework. So I cut some stone. I sat there with the back edge of an X-Acto blade, and I was cutting the stone. And that, this is what I have right now is just a 2 feet section of this structure. But I only did a little patch, and then I got frustrated with that. But I actually did it. So what I wanted to talk to you about and get your input as well is, how do you manage your projects if you have multiple projects? Do you actually sit there and watch the paint dry or the glue dry, or wait for a part to be available, or do you move on to something else? I've been having trouble figuring out how to do that. I mean, I could come back and start the other cars, while I'm waiting for this part of it. I'm not going to need the ditch lights for the other passenger cars. They're just going to be, there's going to have slightly less mechanicals on the bottom. So I could do that. I've done all this, so I could do that. And I could work on, the getting the doors into the passenger cars. So, and that's lots of work to do, and that takes time. And so I could be working on it, but definitely interested in what people have to say. Okay, so Randy, you're in the process of planning your next project. So while you're planning your next project, one of the things I always see you doing is you're always working on your rolling stock. So, while you're planning your next build, and your builds are really intricate and take some time to do, while you're doing that part, are you like working on your rolling stock, getting it prepared, and working on other projects? Are you well disciplined at doing something like that, or how do you get motivated to do that? So as we talk about that, one of the things that I wanted to do is, I need other cars. So besides the passenger cars that I'm doing, I'll fill, that'll be the 4 cars. You need 1 passenger. Well, I'll have 4 passengers, so I'll blow by that. But with needing 8 cars, I need, I think 4 other types of cars. So one of the things I've been trying to research and find, and have been finding it impossible, is maintenance of way. I thought that would be the way to go, because there's not a lot of variation. So I could do an Amtrak car, right? Or I could super detail one or something. But I don't know if that will count as a different type of car, because it'll be the same thing. It'll be a coach or a diner, or, an engine or whatever, which I'll have from the New Jersey Transit as well. And there should be Amtrak on my trains. There definitely was and still is some freight traffic. So I certainly can do some freight cars. And so that brought me back to the first build few years back that I tried. I actually kind of tried twice. I tried on my own, then I tried with an MMR who was kind of mentoring me, but his progress was really good, and mine was very slow and not really very progress oriented. But there are the Lone Star Region website has a bunch of clinics, and let me grab those to show you. Um, and bring this up. Okay, so this is the Lone Star Region Clinic site. Let me post that in the comments for you. Oh, well, that didn't come out very good. Let's try that again. See if that comes out. Okay, and let's get my screen off here. So this is their clinic website, and they have tons of clinics on here that you can see here. All kinds of clinics on here. I'd encourage anybody to go out there. They're PDFs of the clinics. Some of them have multiples. You can see they have a Longbridge's clinic, and it's 2 decks. So what I found was this right here, a flat car clinic. Because I hear from everybody, hey, a flat car is one of the best routes to go because you have the base car and then you can build up from there. You could, instead of putting the wood planks, for instance, on the flat car, you could build sides to it and making a gondola in other cars. So, but it can be the basis. So let's see if this pops up for you. So this is essentially the a slideshow of it. And so what I found where I got stuck was right at the beginning. Cutting styrene, as you've heard me scream and yell about, I am not good at. I'm terrible at it. My knife blade wants to go everywhere else, but on the line that needs to be cut. And so when I started this, I had everything out of proportion and it wasn't cut well. I cut stuff, I glued some of it together because it goes through, it starts with the framework of the underbody. And so I got away from that first attempt. Then that second opportunity came up and we were using Facebook Messenger and I was trying, but I just wasn't as successful and I didn't have as much time. The guy that was helping was retired and I am not. I work and work and work. Seems to be all I do. So I was hoping that I have learned something basically in all these years. And I can tell you I have, and I have more confidence to do this build because I've successfully built other things. But again, cutting styrene is difficult, and anything that's thick is difficult to cut. And when you break the styrene, if you only cut partway through it to separate it and use the break method, my breaks don't always go so well. And I don't know if you can tell here, you sort of can. If I line these up a little bit with the lines on here, you can sort of see that these are, even though I measured them, they're different thicknesses or different heights, I should say. Again, my cutting skills. And, I don't know if you can tell on this one how here's a lot of jagged edges and things. And trying to sand them down and get them straight because I don't want to keep cutting and getting them so small that I've wasted that cut. So the one thing I learned from all that time, because when I first started this, I just knew about sheet styrene and I bought sheet styrene. I didn't really know to go look for it. Well, the measurement I need, the thickness I need for this, I can get in strips already cut and cut straight for the most part. And I didn't have to do as much of the work here, as there will be more work I have to do with these, but for the 4 um, lengthwise under frame parts, I'm working too hard for it. So that's what I learned. So as soon as I get my allowance from Gopher Girl, which hopefully is tomorrow, I'll hit up the local hobby shop and get some of that size styrene and start this build. And so this goes back to helping this goes back to helping get through the times when I'm not working on other projects. And so I decided I was going to start on this freight car. I really should get myself back into that station build, because that's going to take a long time anyway. But if I can just get myself to do something else while I'm waiting on the car parts, then I think this is a good way to go. I could build a flat car. I can certainly justify the need for a flat car, or I can modify it and make some sort of maintenance of way car. There's some flexibility there, but I could get started on building it. And that's what I started to do with cutting. And then I stopped and said, oh, I can find the styrene that fits what I need. So I went through all the styrene I had and figured out what I'll need. I went through all of those decks and figured out figured that out. But it's easy to follow. I found that there were sort of, it was written in a way that some folks would probably need to be experienced and need to make some assumptions, maybe. That was a little difficult when I first get started. So hopefully with some experience, I'll be able to make those assumptions and be able to work through it. So hopefully I'll have something to share on this one as well at some point. But that was my start on other work that I did this week. And I want to say hello to Diana. Welcome to the live stream, and thanks for subscribing to my channel. And so we have a celebrity in the mix here. So for those of you who subscribe to the Crossing Gate podcast that the Twin Cities Division puts out, our advertising voice is Diana. So welcome to our local celebrity. Nice to have you here, and can't wait to hear what the next commercial is going to be. Sometimes it's even better than the shows, but don't tell Tom. Ooh, what happened here? Some things are freaking out on my end, but that's okay. So, okay, so with just going back to real quick back to the ditch light and the ditch light housings. So one of the things that we'll need to do after we get those is we're going to put a lens on it. So that's something I'll have to pick up when I get my allowance too. We're going to put a lens on it from Details West, and then I'm going to add some styrene to it. And let's see, I don't know if you can see that too close here because I've written on this, but around all of the ditch lights you see out there have some kind of housing around them. Of course, most ditch lights you see that are out on the deck of an engine, here these are inset, they still have that housing to hold the lights in place. So I'll get a lens for that, and then I have some tube styrene to put on there. And I was watching and we all watch Boomer Diorama for his expertise in scratch building. So he had an episode where he talked about building out the ditch light covers, or again, probably can't see that very well. No, it's too bright. But he had So he showed how he did it with tube styrene and how he did it finally with to show some of the design of it. He used other tube styrene that's real well or rod styrene, so but very small, and he glued them on the sides to give it that shape. So I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be stealing his technique. It'll be really tiny anyway. You'd have to be up close to see it, but it'll add some detail to that look. And so that'll be the ditch light housing on there. All right. I'm trying to, you would think, so the other part of organizing, so asking all of you about the organization piece, other part of organizing is that I have a little black book, but let's see if I can find it in here. And none of you are going to be able to read my chicken scratch, and Gopher Girl can attest to that. But I put my notes in here of the things, of what I need to build or what I want to build. And so here, when I was coming up with the talk about not being able to read, here I have a list. I started listing out all the things that I want to include, the size of what I need to do, what I need to do for AP. I have a separate folder with all the AP requirements that I want to make sure I hit. So I'm trying to organize it in some ways. So this kind of thing should help me. Should help me keep on target, but I don't have a concrete list, and I really need a good concrete list of stuff that I need to build for this layout, and that would help me, I think, focus on as long as I can read it. I have enough trouble reading it myself, but as long as, if I get a list together, I think I'll be a little more focused on, okay, I can move over to this thing, or I can move over to this thing, so that I'm not so that I'm not sitting here thinking, well, I'm not doing anything with my time, and I really need to be doing something with my time. And I, and as Gopher Girl will attest to, I get a little testy if I'm not model railroading. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to remember to show you is this tool right here. So as I mentioned, my cutting skills are terrible with styrene. So, and I didn't really want to, I don't want to buy tools just for one project, but I'm finding that it's going to happen. And so when we talked about the cement plant that I was building out of the Pringles cans, for the top, I needed to cut circles. And I found this tool, and it is basically a blade and a spot where you poke into the styrene or whatever you're cutting. There's two ways to make holes larger. Obviously, this would be very small. Here's the blade, but you can expand it. It has a little lock on the back, but you can, which I just locked. So if I unlock it, try this again. Yep. It's just being ornery, but this piece can move out here, and then you basically turn it. Now it is basically it was designed for a right-hander, in my opinion. Um, because I feel, well, at least for me, my dexterity, I feel like I can go that way. But these blades, the way, come on, I've got them. You can see how the blades have a certain angle to them. Now, like even though it's a great tool, you still need to practice, because here is using that tool. I cut this piece of styrene out, and that doesn't look very circular. It's kind of a little jagged. Hey, Rick, welcome to the show. Nice to have you in here. So this tool, again, cuts circles, but you still need to practice. It's very easy to lift up and then come back down. And if you don't lock these in place, they move. If you really force them, they do. They also move. Um, but um, but it's 1,000 times better than trying to cut your circle yourself. So um, I want to guess that I got it at Michael's. Um, that's my guess, and it comes with additional blades, and it also comes with pencil lead, so you can use it. You can break that piece off the cover, which it's come off before, but um, you can use the pencil lead to draw your circles for whatever you need to draw them for, and some people will draft them, and the blade comes in and out by opening that up as it gets soft. Now, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I can turn that blade around and lock that in place. And well, look at that. I just learned something here on the live stream, so I hope you did as well. You can have it go either way. So now I wonder if my dexterity will help have these circles help them be better than I've been doing. So I just learned something. Woo! Hope you did too. I'll probably throw out a community post if I find it, but I really think I got it at Michael. So, and I've embraced the idea that you're going to have tools for different things that you need to build, and you may only use them once. And I'm going to live with that, I think, because the nipper that I showed before too for windows and doors, it's only for windows and doors. So if I'm not building buildings with windows and doors, or I'm not building buildings at all, I'm not going to use it. Well, I still splurged for it, had the money at the time, so I've done it. I did it with this. Now I've used it on a couple projects. So and we'll see one of them shortly here. But if you're somebody who needs to cut circles, I would recommend something like this. Doesn't have a brand name on it, but I'll see if I can find it. Let me just go to see if I can find it real quick here. And if Michael's has it, maybe some other places have it as well, or have something like it. I know that Fiskars is a company that does make something like a circle cutter, but their stuff is usually pretty expensive. Let's see here. Looking. Not finding. So what I was originally doing, I was using a stencil, and so for instance, what I was, so many things to click through here on. So you know what? Let's stop that. What's going on here? Let's see. Are we not sharing right now? Let's try this again. Let's see if you're seeing it. Okay. So something like this is what I used previously. And um I would draw the circle with a pencil, and then I would go and I would cut with the blade around it, edge by edge, to try and get it circular, and then um try and um um ooh, I've lost my word too. I would sand it, and you can't sand something very thin like that. But I didn't see one right off. But again, like I said, check your local craft stores, because I think that's where I got it. So what's this again? Hey, Split Rock. It's not tool night, but this is when we talked about the cement plant that I was building out of the Pringles cans. This was the tool I was talking about. So it's this one with a blade on the end and an anchor um, to spin it around, and that's what I use there. And I was saying that regardless, this is something that you still need to practice. It's still a tool, but you need to practice with it. This is one of the cuts I made the other day, and I've made several cuts with this tool. You still got to be careful with it, and make sure it stays in place when you're cutting. But that was the tool. This is why do I need a new cutting mat? It's only got, a few little marks in it and it's got two sides of crap that I've done on it. Here, this is a weathering side. That's all weathering powder. But, and I have I have a larger one in the other room. But, I'm sure Gopher Girl, it is well used for sure. But I'm sure Gopher Girl usually is embarrassed by my appearance and the things I have too. So I'm sure she would agree with you that a new cutting mat is needed. But it works anyway. But appreciate the idea. Hey, Tim. So you found a circle cutter. Was it a little plastic doohickey like this one, or did he tends to get better tools than I do? I think that we agreed that it was actually not Pringles, that it was Cheetos balls that were in these cans. They had a run of those, and I think we ate about a ton of those between me and Gopher Girl. It was Pringles didn't really win that battle. That's for sure. I mean, I know there was a little Doritos one in there where they had these little mini triangle Doritos in the can too, but I think it's the Cheetos balls. I think we fought over those quite a bit. So, Randy, would I for my station build, my reference point is um, 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 Google Earth. I spent 2 years on Google Earth just looking at that station from all angles that I possibly could. Um, at which point I realized I was probably in over my head. But that's the most there aren't a whole lot of pictures, and they're all the pictures that I really was finding of the station were all from the same angle. Um, but Google Earth gives me a lot more, even kind of that over top mode when you're looking down still gives me enough. I also It's also on the National Register of Historic Places, so I have an incredible amount of information on measurements of everything and some plans. And it's from 1984. And basically I'm modeling the 80s and 90s when I used it. So that'll work really well for me, except it didn't have the heights. And I was looking for 2 years staring at it, trying to figure out heights and getting all kinds of um, uh, advice about, pick a door, consider that 7 feet, and then measure from there, and all those things. And this one shot that I kept looking at, which is the underpass next to the station, there's a clearance sign that for 2 years I staring at it in the same look I didn't see, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, there it was. And then I was able to get some the height measures that I needed, at least for the track and for the bridge and everything, and that helped with the building. And but that was frustrating to see that after 2 years. So anyway, so I wanted to give you that. And so let's move on to, so Split Rock, the ultimate goal would be, yes, to build Penn Station. And the basically the three stations I would want are New Brunswick Station, which is the feature point. At one end have Penn Station, at the other end Trenton Station at the bottom of New Jersey, where it would lead into Philadelphia. So yes, the grand plan is to actually build the tunnels as well that go down to Penn Station from New Jersey. Hey, M&M Rails, welcome to the live stream. Good to have you here. I started watching yours, your replay, and I got too close to the live stream here, so I still have that to watch with yours as well. So looking forward to that. But anyway, so the grand plan would be to, the tunnels start in New Jersey. They tunnel under the water and under the city and go into Penn Station in New York, between, what is it, 33rd and 34th. They have a couple tunnels that go down from these tracks, and so that's the plan. And then to build the module lower and build Penn Station and build Madison Square Garden on top of it, which is a building I grew up with and love because of watching the Rangers and Knicks there. Hey, Ed, welcome, Happy Valley Hobbies. It's nice to see you in here. Okay, so shirt dripping. Let's just say I haven't met a shirt I haven't spilled food on. Okay, everyone, if I buy a shirt, it gets food dripped on it. Go Leafs. Leafs. Oh, the Leafs. That's okay. I don't. One day I'll tell the story, but they made a trade attempt for a player I didn't think was worth it. The Rangers did, and I stopped being a fan of theirs. And when I moved out to Minnesota, I became a Minnesota Wild fan. And like all other Minnesota teams, they stink, and they just stink, and anyway, so that's a whole nother story for another live stream. And my mom is a diehard Rangers fan, and Gopher Girl is, and they're in the chat. So don't get them started on the Rangers. So. So M&M Rails, are you? I don't think I ever remember. Are you in Toronto or the Toronto metro area, or where are you out of? As we quickly derail and move into hockey talk. So okay, so let's let's go ahead and um, let's move on to our favorite little segment, the show and tell. And so I will be back with you shortly. All right. So welcome back to show and tell. So today's show and tell, as I noted at the beginning of the stream, I actually have 6 videos in a playlist for this build. And this is the Columbia Valley Models Butler bins. So definitely these Butler bins are smaller when it comes to grain bins, so not from my time. But what I was really trying to do was challenge myself and build something as cheaply as I could, and challenge myself and get away from plastic kits. And so and I probably took the price tag off, but this a little bit better light wise, but again, it's a company that's not in business anymore, that I could tell, and I haven't seen their kits anywhere else. But there were 4 of these kits at the local hobby shop in St. Paul, Minnesota, called Scale Model Supply, and they were $20 each. So next to a Campbell's kit or other kits that were $45, $50, $75, $125, $20 seemed like a thing to do, and I thought it might be challenging to do and challenge my skills. So so I got this, and it certainly was a challenge. And it even has that old smell. So these are the instructions here. Very old school instructions. But if you follow them, they're not bad instructions. There's just a lot of words, and I'm not a words kind of guy, but I did follow them, and I'll tell you a story about it. It even came with, which is really interesting, these are photos. These are old time printed on paper photos that they supplied to help you understand how to do some of these techniques. So building the roof pieces to it, and they even give you like this dowel and show you how to bend all of the pieces that you cut out. And here's some of the leftover stuff. Oh, there's the price tag in there. And I can't grab these, but it's this little, it's like aluminum foil on there, and you just bend them around there. I thought this was going to be part of the build, but it wasn't. It was just, it was a tool. Pay close attention to this right here. That while there's goo. So one of the things that I advocate, and it was coming from my experience with the bins, and it was the roof assembly, was if they give you a suggestion, use that suggestion. So the Walther's goo at the time for glue at the hobby shop, the only place you could find Walther's goo was at the hobby shop or obviously online. I thought it was a little bit expensive for glue. So I went about trying other glues, buying other glues, trying other glues, and nothing worked quite right. E6000 was the closest I got. But then again, I had spent all that money when I could have spent the $5 or $6 on the Walther's goo and done it right the first time. So it pays to read the directions and heed the builder's um, suggestions. To bring it to the Antiques Roadshow. I don't know about that. Like the pictures, maybe. Made of, yes, genuine asbestos for sure. So, yes, they're definitely. I've never challenged them on a price tag, but yes, they don't cover up their other price tags. They just put them next to them a lot of times. So, you never know what you're going to get as for a price. You're going to get suggested retail price there, but it's still better than the other hobby shop, which is more of an RC shop and toys and games than it is their model railroading, because they actually on a lot of stuff charge over retail. So I drive the extra couple miles to Scale Model Supply. So let me pull up some my pictures here of what I built, and then we'll talk a little bit further about that. So when I originally built this, I have this. I don't know. If I'm guessing now, I used for the base to put these on probably 030 styrene sheet, which you can see here that painted with a cement color. I didn't weather these or anything. I just wanted to get them built. I wasn't into weathering or understand them yet. And so I got these built. They basically come with a cardboard tube and a cardboard base, but a thick cardboard. And you bend these sheets of the metal around and stagger them, and you're gluing them with the Walther's goo. So I'm glad I used it for the sides, because and I got used to the Walther's goo. It's a terrible smelling glue, and it's sticky and it gets everywhere. It's a flexible glue, so you can manipulate it and stuff, and it'll lock down eventually. But it gets everywhere and it smells. So thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. Thanks, M&M Rails. Yeah, so Splarak, this is a early gift from I think it was a Christmas gift from Gopher Girl, who encouraged me in this hobby, and I'm sure she's so happy about that now. At the time, it's probably a little more expensive, but at the time, I think it was $125, probably on sale around Christmas. It's super easy to set up and break down. It actually folds up, so I can move around with. I can take it wherever I need to if I need to take it somewhere. And then it has plastic tubing that you can bend and get out the window. So and it came with that the table that spins and everything. I love it. I use it all the time. And she picked the perfect one out, because it has LED lights on the sides and then at the top crossing over, and it's bright, and it's it's a really, really nice light. And I don't have good light in the house. So I started building stuff within it I wasn't spray painting, because it had great light. And there's all kinds of different models. You can still find them on Amazon. You can find them at spray paint companies and all over the place. You can find these. Micromark has them. You usually pay a little bit more of a premium at Micromark. But they don't all have this good light. It's fantastic. And so I got really lucky with that. And so I try to take care of it. Like I said, I use it a lot when I'm building stuff. I now have better lighting for live streams and things, and sometimes I use that as well. Yeah. It's not that powerful. My paint actually gets on where I spray it. Again, that stuff like that is user error. I also am lazy. I could put a paper towel down and spray the paper towel to make sure the paint's coming out. Sometimes I just use the back filter. I have a bunch of those filters. So sometimes I do that, but it doesn't quite suck all that out, but it does get fumes out, which is nice too. There are times when I've uh, used when I've had something really small to I have some spray paints, and if it's something really small and I don't want to run outside and spray paint outside and it's just going to be a couple spritz, I'll use the paint booth and it works perfectly because I also do my day job in here and I don't have the fumes. So it really does work. So if anybody's interested, the other thing is it's supposed to interlock if you want to buy two so that you have room for bigger models or bigger spray painting projects. It should interlock. You should be able to, the sides that you see there actually can come off the base. They're anchored to the base and they kind of flip up and everything. No, Happy Valley. No, she doesn't help with the layout. She tries to have earthquakes and things. All of a sudden, my cows are tipped over and all kinds of wonderful things like that. So she has more fun doing that. Not that I haven't tried to get her to help me with the layout, but I'll wear her down for sure. So, okay. So the Butler bins are all that is part of this model. Everything else you see here, I built or bought. So, yep, M&M Rails, go for hockey. We are season ticket holders, which reminds me to let everybody know, come October, I'm going to have to move the live stream to another spot because that's Go for Hockey is our date nights. So Friday and Saturday nights during the hockey season, it's all about the Gophers, whether we're at a game or we're watching the game, when it's away. But I used to work for the University of Minnesota in their athletic department, and was able to obtain season tickets. And then we've had them ever since. So I don't know, has it been since 2007-8 season, I think it was. So I have to thank Gopher Girl for that too when it comes to airbrushes. I started the air compressor that I took from my dad after he passed away and one that I got from my father-in-law are super loud, and we live in townhomes, so it's not convenient to use, and it probably piss off our neighbors. So another thing that she bought online was this beauty airbrush system, and so this was before the battery operated airbrushes were a thing. This is probably 2019, I'm guessing, Gopher Girl. And so this is what it was. It was a single action airbrush, came with the battery pack. It had a USB charger. It had the regular gravity cup, and then it had these other ones because, beauty salons use these. They need more water-based stuff that they use, and they need larger amounts. This was fantastic to get started in airbrushing. I would recommend it to anybody. You don't have to this has one speed to it and has an on-off button to it, and you screw this in. This again a single action airbrush, and turn it on. And I got used to holding the airbrush like this, and this is rather heavy, this thing. I got used to painting this way, and this is all it came with, and this is how I learned airbrushing, along with watching YouTube videos. So then all of a sudden it kind of started to get popular, or become a popular subject of using these. You started to see reviews from airbrushers online and everything. So that was the first one, and that was years ago. So I kind of graduated, and this one comes from spraygunner.com, and it's no name, which means it's sort of they build these. Careful, Split Rock. Gopher Girl may ban you. So you can see I'm much. I haven't spray painted this. It's just me being a mess. This is like my shirts, but this is much lighter. And this airbrush is a dual action airbrush, and again, this is their their no-name brand, basically. And so this might have been like a refurbished airbrush or something like that. And that, that's it's got their name on this, that they're a production. What changed here is with this one, there's all kinds of cleaning things. And then there was this. So I thought, well, that would be kind of neat to have, so that, I didn't have this where I'm airbrushing. But what I found is when I got used to the other one, I have to relearn how to hold the airbrush. So I got used to, again, holding the airbrush like this when I'm airbrushing. And so I tried hooking this up and just holding the airbrush, and I have to relearn how to hold the airbrush. And so I've just gone back and used this as is. And then it came with a bunch of cleaning supplies and everything too. And I think this was $60 on sale. So let's just give him a warning, and he'll know better next time. Let's do that. So and the other thing that going through Spray Gunner, that they guarantee anyway, is they have the parts. So if I buy, let's say I buy an Iwata or a Badger or any of those other brands, I should be able to get from them the parts I need to attach this to this, which is really neat thing to me. If I want to go out and spend $200-300 on an airbrush, I'm not sure I ever would, or know why I would, but the possibility is there. The other thing is this one has 2 air speeds to it as well, so slightly different than the original, but that's what I use for my airbrushing. So this one is and it was, a limited time on that one, and so they have other versions on that. Oh, I told you guys not to get them started with the hockey talk, because we're never going to get back on model railroading here. It's just going to be an all-out war of the WCHA, old WCHA. But let's try and get back to that. And Frisco Baxter Springs, welcome to the live stream. So, okay, so I've got a lot of pictures, so I'm just gonna go through them. One of the learning things here is understanding the directions, and I didn't quite understand them, and I ended up with a door on this one picture on the right. You can see the door is off the ground. You'd need some stairs to get in there. And then you can see on the picture on the left that I placed it where it was supposed to be after I understood the directions a little better. And here it is on the layout that I have now. So some pictures here. So let's talk about this piece here. So um, because I wanted to do operations in um, and I wanted to learn operations, I I didn't want to have those butler bins the way they were if I was going to put them on the layout, because you'd essentially have to have a truck. Then where's that truck going to go to put, put grain in or take grain out and that sort of thing? So I started to look online. Um, so Split Rock, you're going to do well with Gopher Girl if you make fun of North Dakota. She is a South Dakota girl, and she swears, even though I think the Dakotas is just one place, she swears by the fact that North Dakota um, is a completely different place and different foreign place. Um, so I think you may get back in her good graces. You may be out of timeout already. Anyway, so I wanted to make it operational essentially. So I started looking online at pictures, and again, this was new to me. I didn't want to overdo something that it wasn't going to be good at. I wanted to make it presentable. So I found a fairly basic picture. Uh, I'll have to check them out. I think I've heard of that before. Why am I going to get banned? It's going to be a fairly boring stream if I'm not here. Uh, the um, and so um, you got me all distracted now. So I found a fairly basic version of a conveyor and system, and it had a rounded top, and I didn't know how to cut anything round um, and I was not ready for the big time on that. So I just had some tube styrene. I cut that, made a T out of it. And then I made these connecting pieces to the tops of the bins. I don't remember where I figured out how to do those bins. I don't think it was my original work. I also was lofty and I wanted to have something that was like a pulley system for the spout that was going to either distribute grain or take in grain. Um, and I was trying string and it didn't look good. And I didn't know the wax method with it. So I just glued that on, and I couldn't get the styrene rod to stay. So I added more tube in like that diamond version, just to get it as flat as possible against the other styrene tube. Then the I didn't build the safety stairs, the safety ladder myself. That's a Plastruct safety ladder that I grabbed from Scale Model Supply, and I added that in. And this served well, but a big problem was when I had to move it around if I was doing something on the layout, or trying to just figure out where to put it or show it to people. I had to move it, and it being that it was 030 styrene, it was flimsy, and eventually just about everything broke off. The only thing that actually stayed was the long tube with the safety stairs, and I actually pulled that off to do the refresh. These pictures really aren't of the refresh. This is what they were on the layout. So just showing you some of what my layout having this on my layout. So this is in the back corner of one of the modules. And so it has an endpoint just past on the left. So, hey, Just remember that Randy has a 3D printer, and so if I need help with 3D printing, I might want to ask him. And so let's not get him completely banned. Maybe a timeout. Um, so again, just some more pictures of it. I guess you would say in action here. And that's a long ways picture. That's the end of the module right there. And so eventually that track ends on the left side, but there are the bins again. And I haven't scenic this, so it doesn't quite fit in. So this, I was trying to do some kind of rooftop shot, and I don't have, I don't have the expertise to get all the what is that layered photography in. So it's very blurry. So just some more. And I actually that Wabash gun, I actually I don't know if it doesn't look like at the time of the picture, but I practiced some of my weathering on that one. So it doesn't look like I did there. And there you go. So I just wanted to talk about kind of the refresh. So had a piece of wood before there was even. Yes, there's always a beginning point, Ed. Um, I'm not selling my soul for 3D printing. Um, we just, I would save up for one with my allowance. It would take a while, but we just don't have the space. We don't have the ventilation for it, unfortunately. But it's certainly something I would do because I still have the opportunity to design the things that I'm printing, and that's intriguing. But this was the flimsy little I didn't know anything better base that I used. Okay. So um, using the that round cutting tool, I now have rounded this off. It's kind of a rough, a slightly uneven, but it looks better to me than that flat top now. So when I get that rebuilt, and I will add back, I'll add this back on here. And so this is what I did is I glued this, the square tube around here, and it widened the base and gave it something really toothy to hold on to. If anybody has any suggestions on other things I can try with it, I would appreciate it. And then these are what I built to go over top of the bins. And I only built in kind of a little bit of a divot in here where I could have a gluing surface and had them on. And these didn't stay well. So I did cut through these at this point. I might cut through them a little more and actually try and place this in a little bit to try and get it to stay. I'm open to suggestions on how to make sure it stays. Is there something better than styrene glues that could get it to stay in there? And no, these are HO scale. Everything I'm building now is HO scale. I'm trying to get rid of all my N scale. But there is that. And so let's go ahead and talk about the bins. So we'll show you them on the side here. So you can see this is 080 styrene, much more heft to them. And I glued these last night, and they're hopefully going to stay on. And then part of that refresh is I actually weathered these. And then look what happened here. And I can't get it out of there now. Luckily, it doesn't matter when it's on there because it's going to cover that over just like that. But I pressed too hard when I was on here, when I put weights on here to glue these down, and it popped through and underneath there. And this is the one that when I was building this and I wasn't using the Walther's goo, these weren't moving enough. And I don't know if you can see, maybe you can a little, that these are higher. That's why I was trying to use other glues, and this is mostly E6000 on this one. It wasn't as flexible, and the idea of using the Walther's goo is the flexibility where you glue these together, then you press them down to widen out to the right height and everything, and it gives you a nice angle, which this one is a little bit higher. It's not horrible, but it's higher. And then I had to put a piece of styrene underneath to have the cap stay on top, because you glue the cap to the these edges. I wasn't able to do that there, so I had to put some styrene in there, and I painted it silver and everything, and it looked fine. So I could drill the bottom out. I certainly could, but the utility, I don't need to, because the idea, like the other pictures, is to have this stay on top. And I kind of like that better. If I wanted to now, I could actually glue this onto here, where this one, it stays kind of above. I could glue it right onto that cap too, thinking about it. But this one I can glue on top here and it'll be fine. So I'm going to let that be. So talking about the weathering that I did on here, I actually used 3 different weathering techniques on this as well. And I used one that actually Split Rock introduced to me, and we had at a skills day. But you'll have to remind me, Split Rock, when you use the oil brushers, was that one of the ones that you put in the paint dish and then added water to, or did you take them straight out of the brush and use the brush? I couldn't remember that. And one of the things I struggle with is using the brush, first of all, because of my hands and stuff. I used weathering powders. So I use Monroe Models weathering powders. So I use some white, and I did that to kind of dirty the Butler names, the Butler stickers or whatever you want on there initially. And then I use some medium earth on there. The other thing you see in here are the AK weathering pencils. I got for another project, I got the 5 pencil set for rust. So I used those. I really wanted to try and use oil brushing, but I have a couple things with the oil brushers working against me. The oil brushers are these little things that are basically used for women's makeup, and they decided to put them in here, and they have these long, thin tubes, and then the brush on the end. For my dexterity issues, these are too far away from the model. And even when I, take some of that oil paint off, it's still a lot. And so I was struggling with that. So I did, I went and found the smallest brush I have, and I was trying to use that with the oil paint. So so you can see that I think I overdid it quite a bit. And so one of the things I did to try and blend was use some of the powders, some of that earth powders. But I took a picture off the internet again and tried to see how how they it the rust was around all of the seams. So a seam like this, and then these horizontal themes also. And so I was trying to model that. Also, the door. I was trying to do. I used the weathering pencils, which I'm more comfortable with, and I've done on a few projects around those. And I was mainly trying to use the oil brushers on the tin or whatever there. I also used the oil brushers on top to get a lot of coverage. Here you can see on the back end, I didn't quite go as overboard on some of the sides here. And so I think like this one looks a little better on these edges here. But it takes practice. All of these tools take practice. So if you're using these, what I would say is don't get frustrated if things aren't coming out the way you think they should, because you need to practice even with tools. So all the tools I talked about tonight require practice. Just to show you where you can find these, I did pull up their websites as well. Oil brushers you use straight up. Okay, got it. I honestly couldn't remember that. What we were working on the car bodies, and you had a vial of some paint, I think, that you were adding water to. So I was getting confused. But let me. What do I use with the pencils? I use um, you can use them without anything and use them as pencils, and you can still fill in stuff and it looks good. I ended up buying more pencils, and I have a silver one. So I don't know if you had watched the live stream and where I featured the taco truck, but which was all wood. So there was a back end piece, like the back underneath the doors, the part fender, part stair, where I used the silver one, and that one I just penciled it in because I knew that it was going to cover it and it wasn't going to look like pencil marks, and it looked really good. When I did the ITLA build, when I did the print shop, that one I used water to activate it and activate it like a paint, and so I've used it that way as well. So that's how. So I've used the brushes in both versions, is or both ways that they recommend is using as a pencil. It doesn't look great if you're just using it as a pencil on something like this, where it looks like a pencil streak or a crayon streak almost. So I used water to wet the tips and paint on, or again, mainly around the um, around the doors, is where I mainly use that. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing the siding is aluminum just because it had to be flexible like that. I'm not old. Let's put it this way. I'm not old enough to know for myself if Butler bins are steel or aluminum, but my guess is aluminum. And I can't say that about much now. That that I'm old now, so but that's a little bit before my time, the Butler bins. All right. So that's the refresh. So I haven't. So I got these glued on last night. So I haven't been able to glue these in place. The other thing I was thinking, by the way, and I'm open to suggestion on here. I glued it and it stayed fine, which is gluing the edge of this. I've done this with other things. I could fill that in with a piece of styrene. Does anybody think that would add some stability to it, or is it needed? Hey, Ken, welcome to the live stream. So that's the next part of this. But again, that was a side. This is again another side project that it's just I haven't ever refreshed anything I've done, so it's kind of neat to do this and to do a refresh and do some changes on it. So I need to get these glued on, but essentially that's going to go back here again. That's going to, those will go in like that again. And this will come off here. And this will be the track side over here. So that is my show and tell for this episode. And tomorrow, like I said, and Gopher Girl hasn't promised anything yet, but and told me how much of an allowance I get this week. But I'm hoping to get over to Scale Model Supply tomorrow to get some of that styrene for the flat car and those lenses, although I won't be able to do anything with them. So what else do other people have on their workbench tonight? Well, I'm glad that I can procrastinate you on your stuff, although you're pretty much a little bit further along than I am on your layout and your build. So you mean split? I mean, you're not sitting there doing cars for anybody. Not working on any cars. That's what you seem to be doing most of the time. So, KCS Frisco Baxter Springs. When you say you're working on the N-Scale KCS GP30, are you building it up? Are you super detailing it? Are you repairing it? What are you working on? And Ken, what are you decaling? So Split Rock, the honest truth is, if I really want anything, I have to get her Legos. And by the time I spend on Legos, I won't have any money for myself. And Happy Valley, if anybody hasn't seen Happy Valley's work, he's working on narrow gauge work, and all of he has to build up because he's doing modeling in the 1800s, so there just isn't stuff out there. So he also does a live stream, and I know he just picked up a job, and so that may change his live stream timing. But if you get a chance to catch his live stream, it's worth it to see what he's working on, because he's got to scratch build almost all of his stuff as well. Some covered hoppers in that good old S scale. So who printed the those for you? Did you print them? Did you design them, or are they printed and designed by another outfit. Can you actually hear the dogs? They're outside my room barking. um, so are you going to open your own business, your own styrene business on the side, Split Rock? Um, one of the um, one of the things I also resisted. So as I talked about earlier, resisted buying tools for like one project. The other thing I resisted was buying all this styrene, buying all these parts and things, and then having them build up and lay around. But when you're scratch building, it's unavoidable. You can't get every part that you need already pre-cut and have the exact amount. So you're going to have to cut stuff. And so I'm building up quite the collection. One day I'll show you my mobile box that I have for organizing my styrene for all these builds that I have now in the room I'm in. Cardboard and hot glue have really helped me organize stuff. I don't go out and buy organizing shelves and things like that. I have tons of cardboard. I even built one time for all the magazines back when we had magazines. I even cut up some cardboard and made one of those little files for magazines that you see in plastic and everywhere. So so Ken, I already mentioned that I need a blue bin because I have a bunch of kits that are um, have built up. I've got, I got the gruesome casket in honor of the division. I have that sitting around. I have an interaction hobbies kit sitting around. I have um, back last year from the trunk sale, I bought from the division a merchant's row kit that's sitting there. And I think I have one or two other kits sitting there as well. So I definitely need the blue bin. So, Ed, we have two mutts. Our 6-year-old is mainly a beagle and then has quite a few outdoor dog breeds, and then is partly super mutt, which means they couldn't tell, is pretty much what I'm thinking. And then our year and a half, year and 3/4 year old Bailey, she is um, she's a bit of a more of a mix of dominant breeds, but she has some golden retriever and some Labrador retriever in her, some pit bull in her. They're around 40 to 50 pounds. Um, so and yes, they're rescue dogs, and you'll see me often on my videos and some other places in social media post some things about them. um, Rescuing them is like the best thing ever. We don't have kids, so there are kids, so we're those type of people where we treat them like kids, although I don't agree with dressing them up. Gopher Girl loves to dress them up, my mother loves to dress them up, but I certainly do not. I draw the line there. I don't know why I draw the line there, but I do. I don't like seeing them in a tutu. It just isn't them. Um, and Split Rock, I would love to come over. So we'll have to set up a date to do that. I would love to see your layout in person instead of in a magazine or on video. Um, and I'd like to see if I can drive any of your trains off the layout too. No, just kidding. I'm you know, uh, I really enjoyed the the um, um, operations retreat, and but it still freaks me out to do operations. Still feel this pressure that nobody puts on me except for myself. So I haven't been eager to jump in and ask people if I could join their operations and things. Um, but um, yeah, I definitely would love to get over to see your layout. Um, yes, that is correct, Kim. It's better than me getting dressed up like that for sure. Well, and Split Rock, since you're on, um, all those pictures you take at our meetings and our events. Kim has a zip drive. If you could throw some of those pictures on there, I wrote up a draft of a membership based article, and I actually submitted it to national, but they want pictures, and I just don't have pictures of events and things like that. But it's kind of an article about recruiting and membership and that sort of thing. So if you would be willing to share some of those pictures, you would get the credit, of course, for those, and it would promote our. We could identify that it's all those pictures from the Twin Cities division would be really great. So if you could throw some pictures together and get them on the drive that I gave Ken, that would be really helpful. So yeah, so I have it's like I think it was AHM, or who made it by permission from the original Grissom casket maker, but I picked it up when I was in New Jersey at a club that I went to visit. They had a little store in their front end, and I saw it there, and I'm like, it was like $8. I'm like, I'm getting that because at some point um uh I wanted, um I wanted to do it for the division, and build it in honor of the division. Of course, it got on the back burner, and when you open it up, it's got a lot of parts. It's a big build to do. Um but we but yes, I do have a gruesome casket kit ready to go. If and So if anybody is interested, so I'll throw it out there. If anybody's interested in adopting, go to Pet Finder, um, and you can find dog listings there, and it's shared by lots of rescues. So and a lot of rescues have proximities, and so if you go to Pet Finder and you find the pet you want there, then you can go and go to that agency for that pet. We used Safe Hands Rescue here in Minneapolis, and Gopher Girl volunteers for them, and she might be able to push your application through for a pet because she works on those applications. So let me go back here. I just want to see where. So yeah, so Frisco Baxter, I'll have to go check out your channel and your Facebook and see how that build's going. I'm excited to see that. So so I can be a worse operator, by the way, than Ken. You know, I've mentioned this before. It's in the Twin Cities and those associated with the Twin Cities division, we have a lot of engineers that actually work the jobs. We have a lot of retired engineers, and we have a lot of accomplished modelers who have done the modeling part and now are into the operations. So while I'm still trying to conquer the modeling part and not coming from that operations mindset, it it can feel a bit daunting. And um to get involved in the operations. I love the operations retreat idea. I'm glad that we've done it a couple times now, and that we'll continue to do it. And I'm glad I finally got in and did it and operated on the layouts that I did. Um, and but it's still a daunting thing to me a little bit, because again, I'm amongst other people that essentially I feel like they know what they're doing, and I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Um, so uh, so yes, go for girl, because I haven't set all the speeds to really slow, and I know you'll be like a 12-year-old and throttle it up as far as it'll go, and I don't have anything at the end of my layout to stop those trains from flying off. So yeah. So if those of you who don't know Split Rock's layout, he's an MMR in the NMRA. He has the Split Rock Mining Company. So it's not a mainline railroad; it's the mining company. It's a really neat setup. He has the cover story in a recent railroad model Craftsman, so you can find it there as well. He's got about a billion trees on his layout. And his operations, he said, are in kind of set in three parts. He does state that um, they are not like other operations. They're not hard to operate. He said, but again, I'd I'd be, you know, I've got a mental block, I think, and I just got to keep trying to get out there and operate. To come over and operate on that, it still would freak me out to screw somebody else up and screw the timing up if I'm not doing it right, and that sort of thing. So something I just got to get over, I think. So I used to drive through Vermont to go to school in New Hampshire all the time from New Jersey. Um, I remember driving up through the mountains in Vermont and down the mountains in Vermont, cutting across in snowstorms and sliding down the mountain and, sliding all over the place through Vermont. That's my memory. I got to make sure I don't poke myself with your red dirt identifiers as well. I could just see myself poking myself with those pins. Um, but yeah, I do definitely need to get over there um, and operate on there and see the layout in person, and it would be really neat to do. I forget what road Happy Valley it was, but it cuts across, I think, southern Vermont and southern New Hampshire. And I used to go to school in Henniker, New Hampshire. It was about um, 15 minutes from the capital city, which was Concord, about 45 minutes from Manchester, which was the other major city there. So in the southern part of the state. And so I used to cut across there. I would look, I would love to get Gopher Girl into it. To be honest, she has asked for track for her trains, her Lego trains. Um, and I almost bought her a set of track years ago, but we're like out of space. Um, so um, if we could be, I mean, she would love to build up a Lego city. And I'm trying to convince her that in model railroading you can do the same thing. Um, I think it would be neat if she built the Merchants Row instead of giving me the colors and making me build them. because I can fit Merchant's Row on my current layout, and so I think it would be neat if it's something she did, and I would be happy to help her. No pressure here, or all the pressure in the world, maybe. But I've been trying to get her into the hobby, and she loves hanging out in the live stream for sure. So maybe we could get her to into that. I know she's played some Railroad Tycoon games online. I know that she has, with the Xbox and things like that. So, um, so, um, I know she has some liking to it, and maybe if we get her to a layout like your Split Rock, she might be a little more inspired than my work, because my work's all beginning work, where yours is very well established. Ken's is well established. You know, he's got a nice big round layout that you can walk around and everything. So. Hey, I don't love spam as a food, but don't knock spam. The Spam Museum is a really cool place to go if you're in Minnesota, and at least when I went last time, it was free. So, um, I wouldn't knock. I wouldn't knock spam. So I did. Yeah, yes, Gopher Girl. I did teach Gopher Girl how to solder to my. I don't like putting any tools in her hands that could hurt anybody. Um, but um, but I did at one point teach her to solder, and she soldered some track for me. It's all about the small hands. So, what did I miss about oven mitts, KCS? Yes, yes, Gopher Girl's hands do not shake. Um, but she does use knives in ways they shouldn't be used, like kitchen knives. Um, that's really scary. But then again, I don't know if my mother is still in the chat. She did that once with a Coke bottle. She used the steak knife to try and open a Coke, a 2-liter Coke bottle, and put the steak knife through her finger. Now she can't bend it all the way. So that pretty much freaked me out, and I don't love a Gopher Girl using knives around me either. Um, I can't watch her when she's cooking dinner and she's cutting things and so cutting the food and everything scares me like you wouldn't believe. But once again, yes, your hands don't shake. You got that on me. That's not true. You have cut yourself with a knife, just not as dire as my mother did. I wouldn't let Gopher Girl use a forklift because she would destroy my layout. Yeah, she could scenic the modules that I have now for sure. So Split Rock, ironically or not ironically, but incidentally, Gopher Girl. One of Gopher Girl's favorite things is lighthouses, and we have a nice painting. I think it's a Thomas Kincaid painting of Split Rock Lighthouse. Um, so, so I think she should naturally be attracted to your layout for sure. Just with that association. And is Diana allowed in the layout room? Does she operate trains too? Does she do any of the work down there? And I know we've moved on to other things, but I did want to just make sure I showed you, since we talked about the the airbrush that I was using. I wanted to show you, here's Spray Gunner's website. So I wanted to show you the oil brusher set that I have. So that's one thing, but also wanted to show you, this is Spray Gunner's website, where I got the airbrush from. So I wanted to show you that, and I just wanted to remember. And they have shop by brand, and they have all the brands that you could think of. The one thing I will say, if you're an NMRA member, there is a place called USA Airbrush, and they give NMRA members a discount. So I would check there, and they're mainly, I think, have Badger products there. But I like the service I got from Spray Gunner, and I certainly like the airbrush. It's done well for me. And let's see here. Where are you? Get rid of the share there. So again, the no name brand by Spray Gunner. They even give you this nifty sticker there. That's if you like stickers. And by the way, I do like stickers, and I have my own stickers. If anybody wants to trade, reach out to me, and I'll get some stamps before they're like $10 a stamp, and get something out to you. Get something out to you. But anyway, so if you're an NMRA member, I would certainly check out the go. You can go through the NMRA website if you want to go out there, but it's called USA Airbrush. But if you don't find what you want there, check out Spray Gunner. I enjoyed their service, and I enjoyed their products. So so Mom, I think your answer is in your question when you talked about, you saw some Pennsylvania Railroad stuff in an antique shop. It's a little before the time. I don't know. Maybe some folks in here would know better than I would when Pennsylvania kind of disappeared into as a road name, but it's a little bit older. Okay, what did I miss, Ken? What after dark sessions are we talking about? Maybe I didn't want to um, ask that question. Um, Maybe I don't want to know the answer. So, um, I I wanted, there are one or two kits out there. Walters has a lighthouse kit, and I thought about getting that. Um, I thought about getting that, and then I saw Jason Jensen did a lighthouse with the base being the shell of a flashlight. Um, I found that I briefly looked into that. I find it that that's really thick plastic to cut through, but at some point I would love to get um, I would love to do a lighthouse for Gopher Girl. No, Ken, I'm not keeping anybody up late. I'm just waiting for Scale Model Supply to open tomorrow, so I can stay up late today because they don't open till 10 o'clock in the morning. That's right. I remember you said she's a nail tech. So you have a sticker, Split Rock. I swear you have a sticker. I've traded you for when we've traded the division and the podcast stickers, but I have plenty, so I can get them to you. So, and yeah, Happy Valley. If you ever um, want to travel out to Minnesota, there are tons and tons and tons of layouts. They're N scale, HO scale, you name it. Um, you'll always find some place that needs operators. Um, but um, you know, and you'll have friends out here that'll make sure you have a good time out here in Minnesota. And the weather's generally the same, especially during the winter. So, Randy, it's my turn to forget. Forgotten Star is tomorrow. I went to when I went to visit William Sampson Senior's layout, I forget what the occasion was. It during the convention 2 years ago, I should say, yeah, well, last year. Um, I slipped him a sticker. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it, but I threw it out there for him, so I know he has one. Yeah, Happy Valley won one of my contests, and I included some stickers in there, and I even had letterhead made for it. Well, I made the letterhead, but yeah, no, I absolutely refuse a GG1. Um, I do not like the GG ones. I don't like the look of them. I don't know if it's just because I like modern stuff. But and how do we bring Heath's name up here? But when he talks about them, I'm like, they're just not my thing. I don't like um any I don't like any there's an I even saw an Amtrak engine that had a center cab, and I just don't like it. I just don't know why. It just doesn't do it for me. That's really bad when, four of the board members for the Twin Cities division are sitting here trying to figure out when our next get together is. Just saying. So Ed, yeah. Um, did you at least get everything straightened out, or I don't think I hit up the last live stream. I was wondering if you are working away now I know you had. I think the last time I heard you had a couple of jobs lined up, and one of them wasn't working out, and the other one was. But yeah, save your money and you know, join the Twin Cities Division Facebook group, the also the Crossing Gate podcast Facebook group. You'll know when we have events, and like when we do operations retreats. Um, you know, if you can get the funds together, and I'm sure you can find a couch to hang on. Then um, you know. We'd love to have you out here and joining us on those. And those are really neat days where you get assigned to two layouts. You spend like 2 hours at each layout, and it's really kind of an introductory thing, but it's a really neat thing, and I'm really glad that the Twin Cities division started it because it got me operating. Um, I just have to get over some of those other fears and things that we talked about. So, so it's an open invitation, Happy Valley. So you're working tomorrow, Split Rock? And that remind I think I ask you this a lot though, Split Rock. Where like what's your route? Where do you spend most of your time on the UP engines? Yeah, and I'm the job I'm in, certainly I'm happy that I have a job and I've had it steady. I had it steady through the pandemic and everything. But I'm not happy in the job. And so I'm always looking as well. I need a lot of help getting those interviews. Gopher Girl has to help me out with those things. She practice interviews me, and she helps me with the resume and cover letters and all those things because I usually don't do well with getting those interviews on my own. So I know how it goes, and so just keep at it, and um, you'll get there, and then we'll have you back, working full time on those live streams and showing us all that work you're doing on the layout. You're working on a weekend. I appreciate you coming in. I haven't seen you in here before, but I appreciate you here, and I hope you come back on. I try to do these weekly, Frisco, and I've been doing them steady weekly, and I hope I'll have some progress. I didn't have much progress on the work I've been doing, but certainly hope to be getting somewhere. Even if I'm moving on the flat car. So have a fantastic night. And I appreciate everybody staying late with me. And usually these are an hour long. And but if people want to talk, I love talking to you, and I love learning from everybody. And so like I'll go ahead and I'll shut her down for the night. And I appreciate again appreciate everybody being here, and I hope you come back and see where I'm at next week. So remember, everybody, just jump in and have a great weekend.